Well, hello everyone. Welcome. We're live. It's camera one, Phil. It is Thursday Q&A live with me, Phil, and also with DJ Angelo, who's going to be joining me to help with our daily questions. So remember, well, our weekly question and answer session. So remember, this is all about you. This is Digital DJ Tips with the biggest online DJ school, with the people behind the book you've probably seen on Amazon because we sold a lot of them that help you to DJ. But the point is that this is it's going to be half an hour today because we're busy in the middle of filming. It's our time to just hang out with you guys and girls and help you with anything that you're stuck on. It could be something to do with your music, your gear, techniques, playing out, promoting yourself, live streaming, whatever it is, we're here to help. So that's it. That's what's happening in the next 30 minutes. If you do enjoy this, please do share it. And if you do want to catch these live, especially if you're watching the replay, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, do all that good stuff. And that means that you'll be notified when we go live with this stuff. So lots of people pulling up to the bumper, as Grace Jones might have once said. Hello to Sean, to Vic, to Mason, to Driver John, to Avinav. We've got people coming in already on Facebook and YouTube. We are live on Twitch and Mixcloud as well. We will see your questions. Hi to Darren in sunny Harleston in Norfolk. Mason, thank you so much, Phil, for the tips last week. Now I'm on 3 decks and rocking them using deck 3 for acapellas. Well, it's great to hear that. So remember, I've got DJ Angelo joining me here in the studio today. So any questions you might want to ask to Angelo, who is the people's champ, the DJ's DJ. We've been busy making a course with him this week. We're very happy to put to him as well. So I've got my first actual question here, so that's good. Questions, please, people. This one is from Mason, who says, oh no, we've already read Mason's praise out. I could read it again, but that'd be a bit too much, I think. Hi, Phil. Thanks for your advice last week regarding Bluetooth speakers. Oh yeah, we were talking about how the line in on a Bluetooth speaker still has delay on a lot of brands, which is obviously making them useless for DJing. This is from Gregor. I'm wanting to use my DDJ 200 to record a set while outside. I'm using a TRS to TRRS cable and algorithm DJ on my iPad, but I'm not getting any sound onto my phone as the output. I hope that makes sense. Try plugging the TRRS cable in before you launch the app on your phone. That sometimes somehow helps. Angelo,
yes, sir.
You are with us here today. So time to bring you into the conversation. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thanks.
You're on that camera. I know it's really confusing. You're on that camera
Good
there.
afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.
So now, oh, that's just me. Hang on a second. It always goes a little bit skew with when you've got someone in the studio who you're trying to keep. There we go. Here's both of us.
Live TV.
Live TV. So how are you, my friend? How's it been this week?
Good.
Hanging out.
We've had a productive week, haven't we?
I'm
really happy with how the course filming has gone. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for you guys to discover it, and having a nice time in sunny Spain.
So this is DJ Angelo's Tricks and Transitions. It's a new course coming from Digital DJ Tips. We actually announced it on our Tuesday live stream, but this is what we're just really now getting very excited about because we've had several days, a little bit longer to film on this one, but it's looking hot. So
we're almost there.
We are, and this set you can see here has been constructed especially in this studio for us to hang out
Tropical.
to get away from the decks where we've been stuck all week. Right, so questions. Let's see what we've got here, Angelo. Terence just says hello to the both of us. So this is a question from Driver John. Driver John says, I like to play real vinyl on my 1200s. Do you know if the phono inputs on the Pioneer XDJ XZ are as good as those on the DGM series mixes? I know the answer to this one. Pioneer controllers are a bit dodge when it comes to your phono inputs. It's one of the places they've cut corners, people. So I think they've improved it. And I think the XDJ XZ, they're all right. But it's definitely worth, if you only want to play vinyl, maybe borrowing one and checking it out, or buying from a retailer where you can return it if it's not what you're looking for. We have heard over the years continuous people saying those phono stages just aren't, they're good for DVS, but maybe not quite so good for using as playing records through, just because the audio is not quite so good as it could be. Praise coming in. Andy, great to see 2 pillars of the DJ industry seated together. There we go. Who else is he? So let's pull 1 or 2 more of these questions up. So which do you think is best for playing vinyl? The Technics 1200 Mark II or the Mark 7? Have you got any experience of both of these, Angelo?
I have yet to play a set on a pair of Mark 7s. I still have a pair of Mark IIs and I still love them. And, if it ain't broken.
Well, let's talk about turntables for a bit, because the 1210s, we were talking about it the other day, they came out in 1977 or something. They're like 50.
It was the 70s.
They're like 45, 50 years old now, and they haven't changed.
Unbelievable.
They haven't changed at all.
No.
It's testament to the quality of design, but at the same time, they are getting a little bit long in the tooth, the old 1210s. There's no denying it.
I mean, there's been a great deal of progress with technology since the 70s in everything, and DJ gear being one of those things. So it's definitely up for debate if there are better turntables out there, and there should be really by now.
I mean, we had to fly in some turntables with ultra pitch on to record this course with you, because you play DVS and you like to move that pitch more than plus minus 8%, right?
Yeah, that's not enough for me anymore. And the torque on the Technics is not as good as on newer turntables.
So they just haven't got the power that newer turntables have got.
Yeah.
So yeah, things are moving on. So Mick says, I tried key mixing, but the singing voice sounded like Donald Duck. What did I do wrong? You can tell him what he did wrong there. What button did he forget to press?
Oh yeah, key mixing. So obviously you've shifted the key of your track way too high, beyond the natural sounding key for that song.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because one or two notes is pretty much all you can get away with when you're key mixing.
Yeah.
And with vocals, with big vocals, that's probably too much, two notes. With most vocals, you can probably get away with moving up or down one key. In your experience?
I would say one is probably the most. I tend to prefer to play all my tracks in their original key and not alter them at all. So you obviously have to pick your tracks carefully if you're planning to mix in key.
So there is an article on Digital DJ Tips, which I'm going to share with you now, which is a kind of new way. Well, I say new. It's kind of it's coming to the fore now of mixing anything into anything, and this is called fuzzy key mixing. And we've got an article on the website about it. I'm showing it to you now. So just go over to Digital DJ Tips and Google fuzzy key mixing. There's a little graphic explaining it there. And this is a way of using the really good modern key shift functions, along with a slightly different way of looking at key to the way it's taught, to basically get within striking distance of a reasonable key mix, no matter what you're using. So in other words, no need to worry about the next track. So it's called fuzzy because it's not always right. It's not always perfect, and you're going to need to use your ears. But hey, we're all DJs. Using your ears is part of the deal here. So have a look at that. It might just help you to not have to move more than two notes to get that key mix that might work for you. So I've got Angelo here, who is our guest on this Thursday Q&A Live, because we're filming Angelo's Tricks and Transitions, the latest forthcoming course from Digital DJ Tips. So any questions especially around turntablism, around quick mixing, around melodic mixing, around tone play, word play, pitch play, that kind of thing, the more technical stuff, you're very free to ask Angelo here today. So here's someone who's gone all the way from 1210s to a tiny controller, a DDJ 400, and loving it, says Digital Nation. So there we go, good to hear this. Jermaine, the key mixing article is great. I used to struggle with set making, and now I don't anymore. Thanks, Phil. You're very welcome. That's what we're here for. So here's a Serato question, it looks like, from Jashar. Hi guys, I'm an experienced DJ, but I'm getting back into it after 10 years off. Serato question, when I do a roll, is it possible to end the roll and have the track return to the position where I began? Angelo, you're doing a roll, you want to end the roll and return to
where
you began.
Where he began the roll. In that case, it wouldn't be a roll, it would just be a loop.
Yeah, the thing about a loop roll is it is looping the same part over and over again, and you're making it shorter and shorter and shorter. The trick is to release it a little bit later, because if you release it bang on the one, you need to have it play one extra play of the roll in order to remain in time. And a lot of people release their loop rolls too early, so that could be the issue that he's having here. What do you think?
If he wants to stay in the same position when he applied the loop, that's not what a loop roll is. It's a loop, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
by nature, a loop roll will continue. The track will continue playing as the loop is applied.
What you could do is put a cue point on that point, and then if you want to jump back to a point at the end of anything, just tap that cue point. I mean, that's a big trick, isn't it? To get to anywhere. So have a cue point at the beginning. But we're not 100% clear what you're trying to do there, Jashar, but hopefully that helps you. Driver John says, Angelo, thanks for the tip. Music is to be played with, not just played.
You're welcome, 100%. I stand by that.
That's obviously hit hard, and that's what we're all about. So the Rockers has got a pair of Mark II 30th anniversary editions. So probably 1979 for the Mark IIs, people are saying. Question for you, Angelo, from Osk D. Hi, Angelo. I've mainly been DJing in house for many years, but I'm trying to learn to scratch. Any tips for a newbie? Which scratches should I learn first?
You've probably heard it a million times, but of course, the baby scratch is the beginning point for anyone learning how to scratch, which really, in simple terms, is moving a record or platter, jog wheel, back and forth to create two sounds, one for each direction, and that is one baby scratch, two sounds, forward and back. It's that zigger sound that people refer to when they talk about scratching, and from there, it's a case of making your scratches more complex and also bringing in the crossfader to serve as a on-off switch, which then lets you choose which parts of the scratch your audience hears. But the baby scratch is where you start. You want to be able to execute that in rhythm, in time with the music you're scratching over. That's a big part of scratching. It has to complement the music. If it doesn't sound good over the music, it's not worth doing. Scratching is about adding spice over already good music and picking the moments where you should apply scratching. It shouldn't be done over vocals or over really busy parts of music. So you need to know where's a good spot to do it. Scratch on time, and also I see this a lot, don't put the level of your scratch sample too loud over the music. Scratching, doesn't always sound very pleasant to the ear. So I try to find the sweet spot of the volume level, so it's just riding on top of the music but not overpowering the music.
It's so good to hear a scratch DJ talk in those terms, thinking about the dance floor, thinking about the volume, not just thinking about the sound of scratching.
It goes back to what I was saying about pay attention to what comes out of the speakers. Just because you're doing it and you're thinking it's sounding good and you're executing your scratches on time and you're in the zone, just be sure that what's coming out of the speakers is pleasant for your audience.
Pleasant, a good word. So Rob says, in the US, cursing in music can be an issue. When I play the bars and clubs, people want the uncensored version, but when I live stream or play private events, I like to keep it clean. What's the best way to manage having both versions of so many songs? My track lists are twice as long as they should be. We've just been talking about managing libraries literally half an hour ago when we were filming. So,
yeah, I feel for you guys, especially you guys in the States, where this is a big issue. Coming from Europe, it's not such a big problem for us. I normally just have the explicit version of tracks and don't bother with the clean one. But I maybe I'm not the best person to ask that, because I rarely keep a clean version of a track if I already have the dirty version. But I guess if you're quick at searching through your libraries, and anytime you reach for the dirty version and you don't want to play that version, I guess it's a case of doing a quick search, and I'm sure there's shortcuts within your software that allows you to quickly find that track. There is no way of not having both versions, unfortunately. Unless you do a Serato flip. If you're a Serato user, apparently the reverse button will work on a flip. It knows when you're hitting reverse. So you could do your own sensor tracks. There's a sensor option.
But you could do it in the flip, so you don't have to do it ever again. You can just have it saved there with the track. Just came to me then, that I've never tried it, but I did read somewhere that the sensor works in flip. Have you ever tried that?
I haven't actually tried that.
There we go. So maybe you could be the first. We told you about it, but you did it. So here's a scratch question from Juan. Are there any tips for moving the crossfader for the scratch cuts? I see DJs that move the crossfader really fast for better cuts.
Right, okay, so...
you're going to do your not all at once lesson now, aren't you?
Yeah, getting good with both hands takes time, and getting fast with the fader takes a lot of time. But I will always say that the hand that's on the platter, on the jog wheel or the vinyl, is the most important part of scratching. If this hand is not behaving itself, if this hand is not keeping up and keeping in time and moving your sound in a rhythmic way that complements the beat, it doesn't matter what you do on the crossfader hand. But in answer to your question, you have to start with what you can do before you're trying to do things fast. You have to do things as slow as necessary in order to really drill and master that technique. So I would say to start with simple techniques that involve the crossfader, such as cuts, which is just playing the forward part of the sound and switching the crossfader off when you rewind the sound. And from there, you'll get more comfortable with the process of opening and closing the crossfader. Am I off?
Oh, we've lost Angelo's microphone. Come on, we've got a US audience here. No cursing, please, Angelo. Don't worry about it. We're back on. It's live. We're live.
Are we back? Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay.
We're back.
My bad.
I think you were done there, weren't
So
you?
start simple.
Yeah,
Start
yeah.
with simple crossfader techniques, and then you'll build more strength in your crossfader hand, and you'll just get better with time. There's no real shortcuts to that.
People always ask, do you really do these things live? And I'm like, do you think we'd leave that in if we didn't? Do you know what I mean? It's like, of course we do them live, people.
Yeah.
So Paul, hello Paul, says, I think the Denon Prime system has got two roll modes. One would return to the same position, one stays in continuation, says he from memory. Well, thank you for sharing that, Paul, and I think you're probably right. Here's another Timecode DVS type question. Jorge, I've got, why does Timecode DVS have such a delay compared to real vinyl? It always gives me the feeling the system has some instability. And this is with Serato or Rekordbox. Again, we were looking at this just today, weren't we?
Yeah,
These are eternal problems, people. These are not limited.
Of course. And you have to understand the nature of DVS. The music itself is not on that record. It's you're relying on the signal to be read by the needle, which then the computer will understand and translate into playing the digital file on your computer. So there's some steps involved between that record and the track being played. And it doesn't really matter how fast your computer is or how advanced technology is, that will never be as accurate or as instant as an actual needle going into the actual grooves of a real record. It's never going to be as close as that, because that's the real thing.
But it's quite close.
Having said that, it's pretty damn close. And
it is stable. If you're getting a feeling it's unstable because it doesn't feel the same as vinyl, you just need to get past that, because it is stable, and when it will, it's not as stable as vinyl. It won't jump if you have it in relative mode. But
there's so many benefits to DVS, such as playing without needle skips, and the more you practice with DVS, you'll get used to the touch more, and that will become your norm instead of playing with records. So it's a case of adjusting to it, I think.
Joe, I did the fuzzy key mixing action plan in Digital DJ Lab, and it was awesome and sounded so good. Loved it. So that's good to know. Let's put another question up here from, this is from Michael, who says, I have the musicality when it comes to my ideas, but when it comes to laying it down on my NS72, it just disappears. Any practices on feeling instead of thinking? I feel that's my issue. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so the ideas are there, but as soon as Michael starts doing it, they all disappear. Have you ever coached anyone in this? Have you ever felt this?
So the ideas are there, but they disappear when you start to play.
Here's an idea. Here's one idea for you. Record everything you do. Don't think, oh, it's time to do a set now, I'm going to hit record. That will kill your flow and your feeling of confidence. It's almost like once the cameras are on, your mind goes out the window. It's why you see people on quiz shows, forgetting the name of the president of the USA and stuff. So record everything. Just as soon as you start DJing, hit record and just have fun. And you'll find that when you go back over those recordings, there's some really, really good stuff there.
Or better still, film yourself. That's a good way to look back and see first how you look performing, and pick out any moments that worked for you, because it's very different when you're performing it than it is watching yourself back. And quite often I find things that I didn't know I did in that moment. So you may not be sounding as bad as you realise.
No, that could be it.
Until you watch it back.
That could be it. Question for you, Angelo. What's your favourite scratch? Or What's a scratch that you feel most DJs don't use enough? You can answer either of those.
Okay, I'll answer them both. I think the scratch that I probably do the most is the 2-click flare, and some of you may not know what that is, but it's a technique that is quite versatile, and there's different ways you can use it, and that's a technique that I do a lot, and you scratch nerds out there will see that in my scratch style. And a technique that isn't used that much or enough, I would say the stab scratch is a forgotten scratch these days. It's difficult, it takes quite a bit of strength in your hands, and I think as scratching has become more advanced, people are more interested in doing really, really fast fader movements that require a light touch. So yeah, the stab is like a real old school power scratch, and I still love doing them, and I'd love to see more people still do that.
So Jay says, do you guys think there is a possibility that one controller can become the industry standard? What do you guys think of the Rain 1 becoming just that? Thanks. I mean, you're not really massively opinionated on this stuff, are you? You're a turntable user, and
I love DJing and I love technology, so I love the two of them coming together in all kinds of ways. And yeah, the Rain 1 looks really interesting, and you know, having a controller with a spinning platter is interesting to someone like me who's coming from turntables. But in terms of something becoming standardized, I hope not. That's my honest answer. I hope we don't ever have just one solution. I want options to be out there for people, because everyone DJs differently and everyone should DJ differently.
I mean, the most popular controller is the DDJ 1000. You can get it a Serato and a record box version. It looks and feels like Serato club gear, which is the club standard. So, you know, the closest we've got to a standard is the DDJ 1000. But I can't see one, you know, pushing all the others out in the way that, you know, that you might have been thinking there. And I agree with you, Angelo. Why would you want that? There's too much else going down. That's fun. So 4 Aunt T's says, my audio recordings always turn out much better than I thought. Yeah, there you go. So recording your sets, there's a vote for that. These tips are ace. Thanks, lads. You're welcome. The next one here live is from Ian. I'm struggling to get good digital copies of old school dance music, 88 to 93. Is there a particular service which is good for this? And I could add, and is legal. At the end there, where can you legally get dance music from 88 to 93? I mean, look, we can mention this stuff. There's a lot of this music that has been out of circulation, out of press, out of print, unavailable for years. You go on websites, you find someone who can give you that music. I think if there's a case to be made for, you know, not buying music, it's when you can't buy music. It's when it's just not available anymore. Yeah. It's old stuff. It's gone. It's happened. This is being passed around on fan sites, and I would never condone piracy or anything like that. But you can understand the practice of swapping music from 30 years ago if you can't find it anywhere else.
That's a good question, though.
But I think buying old CDs is a very good one. You know, there were compilation CDs back in the day. Obviously, you need to find the unmixed ones. That's right. Yeah. eBay's a great place. You know,
yeah,
there's a lot of trance dads selling their collections, and you could get a whole collection, get the ones you want out of it, sell it on, and it could be a very cost-effective way of doing it.
And sometimes they just aren't available digitally.
No,
only the records are.
So you're going to have to rip them. You're going to have to learn how to rip. And ripping is a whole other ballgame, but it is possible, although only do it for stuff you can't get digitally. You're never going to get a good rip against the digital version. It just doesn't happen that way. But yeah, it's, you know, apparently TrackSource is not a bad place to look for old stuff. Chris says, Soulseek lol. I wouldn't know what you're talking about there, Chris.
Never heard of it.
No. What Up Doe says, how much time do you practice? Here's a good question. No, What Up Doe actually is what William said. There you go.
What up, Doe?
What up, Doe? How much time do you practice?
Oh, how much time do I practice? Well, it always varies. I'm more of a guy who practices when I have something I'm aiming to do. It could be a routine that I have to complete by a certain deadline for one of my clients. But when I don't have pressure, I practice when I'm in the mood to practice. I don't force myself to practice. Maybe some DJs do, but I'm more of a guy who goes on inspiration, and I find that gives me a better quality of practice. So, you know, sometimes I just don't feel in the mood to hit the decks. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, Other times I can't keep my hands off them. So it really is about what mood I'm in.
That's a good answer. What mood you're in? Here's a question from DJ Reno, who says, how do you choose the songs that you think match well together? You listen to them before knowing their BPMs and keys, or when you listen to them, you already know their BPMs and keys? Yeah, so are you looking for songs in the mix?
I think at the very outset, I'm using my ears. And I use my ears when I'm collecting music. Do I like this? Do I want this in my collection? So, you know, I'm collecting music through what I like primarily. And from there, I let the software tell me what key and tempo it is. And I then have options of where to put that in which playlist and which songs have similar characteristics. And I guess I group things together as much as possible based on how they sound. And if I can group songs together that are similar genres, similar tempos, and have similar keys, that for me is a win. Those tracks are made to be mixed together, and that's the ideal outcome I want from collecting music.
And it doesn't always happen, of course.
It doesn't always happen, and there's always different ways to mix songs that don't have similar keys, but could go well together otherwise.
This is a similar question from Excess to the Rave Zone, who says, can it be wrong to always pick in key tracks when making playlists? I feel sometimes I miss the flow and tempo of a mix because I get too hung up on key.
Good question, yeah.
And I think it definitely is wrong to do that.
Yeah, you should never just play a set based on key, because there's a lot of music that's in key with each other. You know, Bohemian Rhapsody might be in key with Guns N' Roses or Tiesto. Doesn't mean
it's a good mix.
You should play them together, right?
Yeah, there's no piece of data attached to your tunes that can tell you it's going to be a good mix with the next tune. The data's all in here. It's the art, not the science, that you're looking for. What's the right tune to play next, and then find a way to play it, right?
Yeah, imagine yourself on the dance floor enjoying the music. What would you like to be dancing to next that would only enhance your experience?
It's all about the vibe, says Preacher Man.
Absolutely.
And again, I've already pointed this out once already today, but we do have an article which can help you to mix tracks that are not only in key, but also that are the right track to play next, because it saves you having to worry about whether it's in key or not. It's called fuzzy key mixing. It's not going to be for everyone. You still need to use your ears, but go and have a look at that, because you can get some ideas there if you are finding yourself wanting to play a track next, but it's not in the right key and you don't know whether to go find one that is, or to try and find a mix nonetheless. And also, we were talking today about just because it's not in the same key, it doesn't mean you can't mix it. You know, you could at the very least just slam it in.
Yeah.
But a lot of tracks have got sections that haven't got any music in them. They've just got drums or whatever. So
exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah. There's all kinds of ways of getting from A to B these days. That doesn't have to be a straight blend or beat match. You know, you just have to know your music, study your music, look at the different sections in the structure of your songs, and you may find mix in and mix out points that aren't the obvious places.
There's people saying, go to Oxfam, there's gold in them there crates, which is Oxfam is a charity store in the United Kingdom, and other people saying, yeah, Discogs is a good second place to second-hand stores, which are the best.
Yeah,
that's where you
I
can
use
find
it all
stuff.
the time.
And A-Rox here is saying, Angelo,
Hey.
fire. And that seems to me to be a good place to end it today.
That's my guy.
We got to get back to our work. We got to get back to our studio and our filming for Angelo's new Tricks and Transitions course.
Whoop, whoop.
It's coming to Digital DJ Tips very soon. We are right in the middle of filming it here now. Angelo, again, has very generously given his time to be here as our Thursday Q&A guest today. Next week, you'll have a full hour-long show with me. So look forward to that one, people. And Mixmaster G says, what Angelo says, know your music. That's got to be a good place to end it, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
So guys and girls, get good, get out there. If you can get out there, make the moments. We'll see you again very soon. We're here on Tuesday and Thursday next week, same time. And Steve Canuetto is here on Sunday, about half an hour from now, if you look at your watch. Join him on Sunday for his Bumpy House session in this very studio, although he transforms it into everything from a tropical beach to a festival to a nightclub and all the rest of it. Do you think he's going to leave the plants?
I don't know. I think you should.
Yeah.
Won't work on the green screen, will it?
Won't work on the green screen. No, they'll disappear. There'll be a few stalks hanging around. Right, thanks a lot, everyone. Top DJ says, Ong Sriran to you, Angelo. Clearly not to me. Cheers, chaps, ladies.